Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to the forest that's close to my house, and we're going to change of scenery today while we do our talk that I've titled "Money is the root of all evil," or is it? So I believe that there's a slight misquote there. The original quote was, "The love of money is the root of all evil," but I think that we're going to maybe have a bit of a think about that, and then at the end we'll decide which is whether it is or whether it's not. Now, I'll start this video with a small disclaimer, and the disclaimer is I'm not a financial advisor. Take what I say with a pinch of salt, and do your own research. Now, when we're talking about investing, I would say there's only one thing that I would say there's a solid investment that you can never ever lose on, and that is investment in yourself. So please take some time, take some money, invest in yourself, and you can never ever lose in that investment. You'll always get a return on the investment, and the more knowledge you have, it's power. Knowledge is power. We all know that. So let's begin with the subject of today, which is money. And I believe that the biggest problem we have is money creation. How is money created? Who creates it? Where does it come from? And then you can decide with that knowledge whether you think it's evil or for good. So money comes from privately owned, just remember that, privately owned central banks in each country. Now those privately owned central banks have the license literally to print money. So to sort of simplify the whole process, I don't want to go into the whole nuts and bolts of the mechanics of how it all works, but in simple terms, privately owned central banks print the money, create the money, and then they lend it to the government of those countries with interest. So it starts out its life as a debt instrument. The interest has to be paid back on that money. Now, the only way that can be done is if the populace, like you and me, are taxed to be able to pay back that additional money for interest. So the original loan amount, a loan on something that a privately owned company printed, it's not backed by anything. It's just they just printed it, and then they expect interest back on that money that they created from nothing. Now, when we're talking about money, gold and precious metals have been considered money for thousands of years, and in practical terms, it's not really something practical that you could carry around with your gold and silver. It used to be, but in practical terms, it's not really something you can be carried around because it's heavy and it's cumbersome, and you can't really break it down into smaller denominations for smaller purchases. So fiat money, or money, cash that we view as cash that we trade with every day, was given out as a sort of an IOU, if you like, for the holdings that people would have gold and silver and precious metals stored in vaults and safes. So our money used to be backed by gold some time ago, up until 1971. So many years ago, there was a meeting at Bretton Woods where it was decided that the American dollar would be the world reserve currency. Now, the world reserve currency has shifted from country to country over years. The British pound used to be the world reserve currency some time ago, but the American dollar is, in our lifetimes, has always been the world reserve currency, which means that the majority of the trade that happens in the world, about 60%, goes through the American dollar. Even though it has nothing to do with America, goes through the American dollar because the American dollar is the world reserve currency. Now, that's not really fair to the rest of the world, because if you've got a currency that's been held up because it's the world reserve currency for trade, then they get an unfair advantage of their currency being worth more, and that in terms of trade, it gives them an unfair advantage. So so before 1971, the American dollar was backed by gold, and all the other world currencies were pegged to the American dollar. Now, when in 1971 when it was taken off, the gold backing was taken off the American dollar, the world was the money of the world was no longer backed by gold, and we swapped over to something called the petrodollar system. So it was backed by oil. Now, that presents a bit of a problem because, as we saw, a couple of months ago, at the beginning of the shutdown, that there was not as much oil being used in the world because of the shutdown, and we had tankers full, and all the storage facilities were full of the oil, and no one was buying. The oil futures went to minus $40 a barrel. So we've got a currency, world reserve currency, backed by oil that went to minus $40 a barrel. So, you know, that's the world reserve. So all the other countries' currencies are pegged to that. So what is your money really worth at the end of the day? Now, the reflection of that, the reflection of that is that we go through our day working for money, or most of us do, and you know, we're working for a currency that really is only the only value it has is trust in that currency. Now, trust in the American dollar is falling fast. You know, and they're because they're devaluing their currency. Now, we hear about all these terms on the news: devaluation, inflation. What do they really mean? So we hear about inflation. Countries try and, geez, a bit of a wind, I don't know whether you can still hear me, but hopefully, out in the fields now, beautiful countryside that I live in. So inflation is essentially, they're inflating the money supply each year. So countries try and peg their inflation to about 2% a year. So what that means in practical terms is, if the money is inflated, the money supply is inflated, it means it's devalued by that much. Now they try and peg it to 2% a year, it's always more. But what's happened since the shutdown is countries are printing infinite amounts of money in order to stimulate business and stimulate the economies back to life. But that's also devaluing the currency, which means that if you hold money, like in your bank account, you're not getting interest on that money, of course. There hasn't been for a long, long time. But your buying power of that money that you hold, that currency that you hold, is now diminished because they've inflated the supply. So, you know, back when I was a boy, you know, I was always told, work hard, save your money, you know, buy a house, do all those kind of things. We've all heard the story. But nowadays, savers are losers, you know. Since when has that ever been a good thing? You know, you try and save your money to get ahead, but you know, if you have money in the bank account, you're losing. You are losing everything because your buying power of that money is being diminished. Same with pensions and all those kind of long-term investments. The buying power of your money is diminished over time because of inflation, and inflation is out of control at the moment because the government's swiping their central bank credit card into infinity to help get through this virus. So you know, we're at the end of the stick here, getting the short end of the stick from a corrupt system. It's a con. The whole thing is a con. You know, the money creation is a con. You know, there's so many reasons. If you talk to an economist, they'll tell you, well, it takes out the government from being involved in their money supply because governments could just print into infinity, which is what's happening anyway. You know, so this whole central bank creation of money is a con, and it gives them power and control over the average person, because if you control the money and the inflation of money and the supply of money, then you have control over the people. So it is a modern form of slavery. Now, you know, that's part of the problem. And then we get to the other part of the problem, which is called fractional reserve banking. Now, fractional reserve banking essentially is when you deposit money in your bank account, which doesn't actually belong to you. Let's clarify that right from the start. So when you put money in your bank account, it actually shows up on the bank's books. It shows up on their books as being a credit to their, you know, what they have in their books. Now, they can lend that money out with interest to other people. So for people who want a mortgage or a car loan or whatever else, they can lend that money out up to 90% of the value of the money that's deposited in their accounts. Their accounts, not yours. But, so let's just say that somebody comes in and gets a $20,000 loan or pound loan, wherever you are in the world. Then the payments over the course of that term of the loan, if it's a $20,000 loan, and the afterwards with all the interest attached is 25,000 as repayment. That 25,000 is now on the bank's books as being holdings for that bank. That debt instrument is now a plus. A negative to you is a plus to them. Now, they can then lend out 90% of the value of that 25,000 again to somebody else. So it's an infinite amount of money that can be produced from money that's deposited in your account, which is actually their account. So there's money that's being produced constantly, infinitely by banks, by central banks. It's a giant con, and it defrauds you, and it takes away the value of your money. The thing that you're working for, the thing that you're working hard for and you're trying to save, it's getting devalued all the time by governments and central banks. So it's a zero-sum game for you and me, except there are things that you can do. So like I said, I want to always finish on a positive note, and rather than just presenting the problems, and this is a problem, but it's not all doom and gloom, and I want to make sure that you understand it's not all doom and gloom. There is something very exciting that's happening behind the scenes. This current central banking system, the giant con, is being overhauled, and a new system is being implemented in the background called the quantum financial system. It's been in the works for a few years now, and it should be being switched on sort of later this year, early next year, and it will mean that it will take the power from the central banks, and it will give the power to very tightly regulated government organisations that are controlled by blockchain. Now, if you don't know what blockchain is, it's a secure record of transaction. Long story, we're going to get into that in another video. But there's other ways that this is going to benefit everyone. So know that it's not all doom and gloom. The system is changing. We have to go through some hard times, which is what we're doing right now to get through to the other side. But from everything I've seen and everything I've read, the flip side of this will be that the world will be much fairer, much more inclusive to the people that are sort of on the bottom rung of society, that don't have the big money, which is the majority of us. And it will be, these government departments and people that are sort of conning the system won't be able to do that anymore, because the way that the money is recorded, the creation and the disbursement of money is recorded, cannot be conned. It can't be hacked. It can't be changed. So it's a very, very secure system. So that's one positive. But what can we do today, you and me? What can we do to secure what we have? I mean, if we're constantly losing money in our bank account by having fiat cash because they're printing it infinitely, what can we do? What's our options? So there's two different things that have sort of increased in value since all this has been going on. One of them is gold and silver, precious metals, and the other is cryptocurrency. Now, we're going to do a video on cryptocurrency and investment on another time, but and that's a very interesting subject. But what I would say is, if you're going to go down that route, you need to understand what you're investing in. A lot of the cryptos out there are cons, and there's 4,000 something cryptos that have been created. Most of them do nothing, and it's just a money grab. It's a con. It's a brand new nascent market, and with any kind of unregulated, new markets, people are always going to be out there trying to con you out of your money, your hard-earned money. So be very, very careful if you're going into that. But like I said, we'll get back to that in another video. But today, I would say that's probably, if you're going to be looking at something for investment and to keep hold of the value of your holdings, what you own now, is, I would say gold and silver is probably the best investment you can make. As I said before, gold has always been viewed as money for thousands of years, for many, many reasons. But it's a secure investment. Now, I'm not talking about paper gold and paper silver, paper contracts, not worth the paper they're printed on. If you're going to be going to that market, you need to purchase physical gold and silver, either in bars or coins, from a reputable supplier. There are a lot of con artists in that industry as well, but make sure that you go to a reputable supplier and purchase gold and silver, real coins that you can hold, so you actually hold on to the value of what you own. Now, The reason that I've started this channel is to share information. I've been researching these kind of top subjects for many years. I read a lot. I watch a lot of content on YouTube and read a lot of articles, read a lot of medical papers as well. And there's certain people out there that are sharing information for free. So while I said before you can invest in yourself, there's a lot of content creators that are creating content that's free, that can help you get you started on your journey. A good place to start, I think, is Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Wrote a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. Start there. It's a wonderful read. It teaches about investing, about money, and I think it's a really good, for about $12 or about £10 or something, worth buying the book. Really, really good. And he's also got a YouTube channel where he talks about different subjects, investment. He talks about Bitcoin and gold and silver as well, of course. And I think that's a good place to start. There's other people like Mike Maloney, who has a channel on YouTube as well. Shares a lot of information about what's happening in the futures markets and stock market and things like that. And we'll get to the stock market in another video as well. That's a whole video by itself. So I think, look for information and then look for people who are out there sharing information. I got started because I wanted to get my voice out there. There's a guy on YouTube called Charles Ward. Good guy who's sharing information. He started his YouTube channel just talking about the current situation and how he felt about it, what we could do, and inspired me to sort of share my voice. Now, not sharing a voice isn't, I don't expect everyone to go out there and start their own YouTube channel and start doing what I'm doing or what Charlie's doing or any other YouTubers doing. This is my way of sharing information because this is how I feel comfortable sharing it. Good. This is how I feel comfortable sharing it. I've been working on these kind of things on Facebook Live and sharing information through that way for a while now. But what I would say is if you find people that you resonate with, if you find content that you resonate with, hopefully you find value in what I'm doing, share it. If you feel that it sort of speaks with the kind of direction that you want to, the kind of information that you want to put out there, share. And if you feel like you want to be along for the journey, then subscribe and hit the notification bell to be notified when I'm posting videos. I'm going to try and do these every day. Obviously with my work schedule, I have a young family as well. I'm married, so I have to spend time with my wife. Well, I don't have to, I love to spend time with my wife. But yeah, I'll try and get these videos out every day, and I'll be talking about different subjects in relation to what's happening right now. I started with money because I believe that money is part of what's going on right now. There's a financial reset that's happening in the background of this whole event. And there's a lot of panic in the air, and there shouldn't be. You need to look around, and I mean, you've seen where we are right now. Beautiful wooded area. Just look at this place. It's wonderful, and that's why I wanted to bring you here today, just to sort of remind you that the world is a beautiful place. While the media wants to push fear, and there's a lot of fear in the world, and I understand that. You just need to look around and realize that the world is a beautiful place, and there's people out there who are trying to do wonderful things to help humanity, and you can be part of that as well. So yeah, final thought for the day, look after each other, keep a smile on your face and a song in your heart, and don't panic, because the world's wonderful. We're going to get through this, and there's things that you can do to help yourself. Get information, share this, and help each other out where we can, do the right thing, and join me for the ride, because it's going to get interesting from here. I hope that you'll join me. I hope that you like the content that I'm providing for you, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Look after each other. Love you lots. Bye for now.